What is happening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of SWACtalk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am, of course, your tour guide around the SWAC, C. Wells, aka the Baton Rouge chapter leader of the Andrew Body Fan Club, aka your favorite 45-year-old SWAC YouTuber, aka the co-host of SWAC Smoke, aka Mr. Cry at football games because I'm super emotional at times. And that's me, man, Steve Wells. So just wanted to have a little fun right there with that. But it's week 11, and we're gonna preview these games. 6 games on the schedule, 6 SWAC games, and we are coming into the home stretch. And this is an important week for the divisional races because we'll talk about that in a second. But as you know, the socials are on the screen down below, so feel free to check those out and do with them accordingly as you will. Also, since you're here, if you haven't done it already, man, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the page, hit the notification icon so you can be alerted to any content that I upload. Like the videos, share them, and feel free to comment. I love to go back and forth in the comments, so feel free to comment. Let me know who you think are going to win this weekend. Let me know any other things that's on your mind this weekend as we approach the home stretch of Championship November. And speaking of Championship November, the SWAC races are pretty much taking their final form. Very important week for both the East and the West Division. Jackson State, with a win, can officially clinch the East Division. With a win, it doesn't matter really what happens next week because they have the tiebreaker over FAMU. So a win Saturday gives Jackson State the East Division. A win by Prairie View gives them the West Division, and wraps that up. If they lose to Alcorn, then Alcorn is still mathematically alive because they'll need Prairie View to lose one more game, and then they will have the tiebreaker. So FAMU still has an outside shot, but that requires Jackson State to lose 2 games, and I don't see that really happening. So that's pretty much the championship race, and that's straight from the SWAC. So anything else you hear is not quite correct. So this is straight from the horse's mouth. Divisions possibly could be wrapped up this weekend. So this is a big weekend for East and West Division. This makes all games a little bit more important and makes it interesting to watch. So both both teams who are leading the division are looking to go to the SWAC championship for the first time in a long time. Jackson State, if they clinch, it'll be their first SWAC championship berth since 2013. If Prairie View clinches, it'll be their first berth since 2009. So this is a very important situation. And also, if both teams win out, then we're gonna have to decide who gets to host the championship game, and that tiebreaker is basically head to head. These two teams did not play, so that's out. Overall conference record versus common divisional and non-divisional opponents. Um, as far as I know, Alabama State, Alabama State, Bethune Cookman, no, Alabama State, Bethune Cookman, Southern, and Alcorn, I think would be um, their common opponents. Unless I'm missing somebody else, but both teams beat all those teams, so that's another one. Record versus non-divisional opponents. If both teams go undefeated, that stays the same. It's gonna most likely come down to number 4. Jackson State should be ranked higher, so I think that would be the tiebreaker that solves this. Also, after that is the NCAA FCS simple rating system. Then it's the best point differential between the tied teams, common head-to-head matchup. Then best point differential between the tied teams, common head-to-head matchup against teams with the best overall divisional and non-divisional record, and proceeding through other common non-divisional teams based on the order of finish. And then number 8 is a coin flip. So I think if things continue to go the way they are, you probably have number 4 as your tiebreaker. So that's very important for both teams to maintain their ranking because this can really factor in who hosts the championship game. So with all that being said, man, let's jump into week 11. The first game we're gonna talk about is let's see who we're gonna talk about first. Let's talk about Bethune Cookman and Grambling. This game is an 11 o'clock kickoff. in Grambling. I don't see any TV for it, so you probably can catch it on the Grambling Radio Network. So this is a game. Grambling's coming off of a really bad loss. Uh, Not really point wise, but it still was a bad loss to UAPB. Bethune-Cookman picked up their first victory of the season against Alcorn. So they've been in most games that they played. They haven't really been blown out too many times. So they've hung around and hung around. They finally were able to get them a W coming from down 17-7 at the half and getting the win. Grambling obviously took a tough loss to UAPB. UAPB was very successful offensively, and Grambling continues to struggle offensively. So, taking a look at the stats for both teams, Bethune-Cookman comes in this is not the right thing. Hold on one second. Bethune-Cookman, obviously, they come in. I think they have, honestly, I think out of the two teams, they probably had a better team. Grambling, I think, has the better defense. Bethune-Cookman, I think, has the better offense. But in a game like this, I think the offense can win out because Grambling's offense is just, I don't want to say inept, but they're close to that. Bethune-Cookman right now is averaging 24.2 points per game on offense. Grambling is averaging 18 points per game. So that's already, a 6-point differential, and that's not even taking into account anything as far as defensively goes. Grambling's defense, obviously, like I said, they're better right now. They're allowing my computer is acting very crazy. Y'all, please forgive me. For whatever reason, I'm just not. My computer doesn't want to cooperate. Grambling's offense is really just they're really struggling this year. They can't move the ball through the air. They really can't run it. Here we go. We're back on track. Grambling's defense is allowing 27.8 points per game, while Bethune-Cookman's defense is averaging 37.7 points per game. That would bode well if Grambling's offense was better, but they're not. I really think this is a game that Bethune-Cookman has a great chance of winning, primarily because, like I said, I think the offense is better, not by a lot. Total offense 347 per game for Bethune-Cookman. Grambling 244. That's 4.1 yards per play for Grambling. Just not a good offensive year for them. Defensively, Grambling 373 total offense on defense, and Bethune-Cookman 449. Again, Bethune-Cookman's defense is porous, but this Grambling offense, I just don't see them taking advantage of it. Rushing offense, Grambling right now is 106 yards per game, Bethune-Cookman 117. That's close to a wash. Bethune-Cookman allows 177 yards on the ground, and Grambling 159. That's kind of close. Through the air is the biggest difference between the two teams. Grambling is last in the league in passing at 137 yards per game. Bethune-Cookman is at 230. They are fifth in the league in passing, so they have a better passing attack by far between the two teams. But Bethune-Cookman's defense is weakest against the pass. They're last in the league in pass defense with 271 per game. Grambling is sixth at 213. Just another factor that I always think is important is third down conversions. Grambling is last in the league with 25% third down conversion rate. Bethune-Cookman 33.8. Grambling defensively they allow a conversion rate of 35%. Bethune-Cookman is last at 48%. So again, these two teams, you see the difference. But like the weaknesses that Bethune-Cookman have, I don't think Grambling can take advantage of them because their offense is just not there. And since they have decided that they're gonna redshirt Noah Biden, then that takes everything out of it for me for Grambling. Kamari Averett is the best tight end in the league, and Grambling's gonna have a lot of problems matching up with him. Quayshawn Bird is a really nice running back for those guys. He also had a kick return touchdown against Alcorn. Shannon Patrick, Devin Black, I don't know which one of those guys is going to get the start. But as long as they don't turn the ball over and put Grambling in short fields, I think Bethune-Cookman should be okay in this game. I think they're gonna win their second game in a row because I'm just not sold on Grambling having really too much offensive firepower. Bethune-Cookman's defense is bad, but I think Bethune-Cookman's offense is better. So I like the Wildcats in this game by a score of 31-23. I think it's going to be a fairly close game. It'll be one of those games that maybe it seems closer than what it is. I think Bethune-Cookman will take advantage of the opportunities that Grambling offense gives them. But since their defense is not that good, I think they're gonna have a few issues getting stops. But I think they'll be able to seal the deal at the end. The next game we're going to talk about is Alabama State and Mississippi Valley. There's a 1 o'clock kickoff. That game could be heard and watched on the MVSU Athletics YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out. These two teams are kind of moving in different directions. Valley is a team they're I think they're playing well, but they're not really winning. But this is Valley, so any incremental growth that they have is a good thing. They took a step back against Alabama A&M. The Bulldogs really had their way with them honestly on both sides of the ball, and they just could not compete. But this is a game that I think is going to be a knockdown, drag-out type of game. Both teams, are really aggressive on defense. They're going to get after each other. Offensively, neither team is going to scare you. They're last and next to last in scoring offense. Alabama State 17.8 points per game. Valley 16.4. Both teams are fairly decent scoring defense. They're 6th and 7th. Alabama State allows 29.5 points per game. Valley 31.8. The running games for both teams, I think this is the difference. Valley runs the ball well with Caleb Johnson. Jelani Easton is also a runner. So he's a guy that you're going to have to account for. Valley runs for 136 yards per game. They're averaging 3.6 yards per carry. Alabama State is last in the league in rushing with 78.1 yards per game and 2.6 yards per carry. Now, to me, that's really surprising because I feel like they have two good backs in Ezra Gray and Ja'Cory Merritt. These guys just have not been able to get it going this year for whatever reason. So I think if Alabama State's going to do anything, they need to get their running game going. Valley's a defense that's kind of tough to run against. They're 5th in the league in rushing defense at 152.1. Alabama State is 6th in the league at 158.4. So these two teams are very similar when you look at the numbers. They almost like a mirror. Passing offense, neither one of them is really great passing the ball. Alabama State 187 yards per game passing. They have 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Valley 10th in the league with 144 yards per game. They have 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Defensively, again, these two teams, this is probably the biggest difference in the two teams defensively. Alabama State they play the pass pretty well. They're allowing 185 yards per game. They only have 2 interceptions on the season, but they haven't really been hit really badly through the air. Valley is 10th in the league in pass defense, allowing 251 per game, 22 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. To me, if Alabama State is going to win the game, I still feel like their running game needs to be a factor. Merritt and Gray need to get going. If they are one-dimensional, then Valley will cause them some problems. Valley's defense is 8th in the league. They have 18 sacks on the season. Alabama State is 7th. They have 19 sacks. Again, these two teams pretty much are mirror images. Valley has allowed 26 sacks, and Alabama State has allowed 18. So both teams have, allowed some heavy pressure on their quarterbacks, but they do a decent job of getting pressure. Not great, but they do a decent job of getting pressure on quarterbacks. Third down conversion rate, Valley is 30%. Alabama State is 36% defensively. Valley 44%, and Alabama State is actually 4th in the league at 34%. So they do a better job of getting stops on third down. They kind of bend but don't break. To me, like I said, this game is going to come down to the quarterback, Nettles or Miles Crowley, whoever starts for Alabama State. is going to have to withstand the pressure that Valley brings. Valley's going to be very aggressive, and they're going to try to get after you really, really, really aggressively. Jelani Eason, he needs to take care of the ball. I really think Valley still needs to try to stretch the field with their passing game because they don't really do that, and that kind of hampers what they do. Right now, they're basically averaging uh, 5.5 yards per attempt. So they're not really throwing deep down the field, obviously. They love to spread you out and use screens and things to get you going. But Caleb Johnson is going to be a big factor in this game. I think if he has success, then Valley's offense will be successful. And I'm looking for him to have a good game in this game. But I think this is going to be a physical game. I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag out type of game. Probably have a couple lead changes. It may not be the prettiest football. You're probably going to have a couple turnovers on both sides and kind of some play that doesn't really look as sharp. But it's going to be a game of two teams who are fighting, and both teams are fighters. Um, Alabama State had a good outing against Prairie. Couldn't seal a deal in the fourth quarter, but they kept themselves in that game. But I like Valley in this game. Um, Mainly because it's at home and Valley plays so much tougher at home. So I like Valley by a score of 24-20. This is a game that could obviously go either way to me. In the spring, this game was pretty close till Valley failed a fourth down conversion, and Alabama State was able to pour on some points and win by a comfortable margin. But I think if Valley can play with that spirit that they've been playing with, I think they'll be fine and they'll pick up the W here. The next game we're going to talk about is Florida A&M at Arkansas Pine Bluff. This game is an ESPN Plus broadcast, radio, UAPB Sports Network. So you can check this out in a variety of ways. Two teams obviously not going in the same direction. FAMU is fighting for a playoff spot. They've won 6 games in a row. Defensively, they have one of the top defenses in the league. Offensively, they are adequate. And I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying they do what they need to do on offense to get the job done. They have a lot of weapons on offense. Obviously, most people know or say that Rashawn McKay is the issue at quarterback. I think he's a game manager. I don't think he's gonna hurt you he's not gonna really hurt you as an opponent, but he's also not gonna really hurt you as a guy on your team. So I would love to still see him take advantage of the receiver weapons that they have. But they if those guys are Smith, Sherrod, Manigo, Hunter, if any of those guys get loose, then you have problems. But I love their running game. Terrell Jennings is a guy that carries the ball well. Bishop Barnett is a big time back in this league. He's actually fourth in the league in rushing right now, so he's a very good back. Much better running game for FAMU than in 2019, although Ryan Stanley led offense didn't really need to run the ball that much, but they run the ball really well. The passing game really still isn't where it needs to be, but Xavier Smith is 10th in the league, averaging 55.1 yards per game receiving. So they have the weapons. Obviously, defensively is where they make their hay. You can't really move the ball too consistently against them. Defensively, they're second in the league in scoring defense, allowing 17.3 points per game. Pine Bluff is allowing 36.2 points per game. This team, before the Grambling game, I felt like this team had checked out. I don't know, maybe they bought themselves a little time, or maybe Grambling just not that good, and this was the case of two teams who weren't good playing, and one of them had to win. Pine Bluff, that defense is very susceptible to big plays. Offensively, they have not been. Offensively, they've struggled all year with any kind of consistency. The passing game and running game have not been that sharp before Saturday. On the offenses, Pine Bluff's offense is averaging 20 points per game. Rushing, Pine Bluff is 7th in the league with 128 yards per game. They had a really good game against Grambling, where Skylar Perry ran the ball very well against Grambling. The running back still did not do much. That Grambling game was Skylar Perry's best game all year. I felt like he was really a dual threat in that game. His arm and leg legs hurt Grambling a lot. FAMU right now, they're rushing for 150 yards per game. Defensively, FAMU allows 116 yards per game on the ground. Pine Bluff allows 180. So they're gonna give up big plays. Pine Bluff, that's just they're just a team that gambles a lot and they give up big plays. Passing offense, Pine Bluff is eighth in the league with an average of 198 yards per game. FAMU is seventh with an average of 203. So neither team really feels the arrow of footballs. But I love the weapons that FAMU has on their offense, and to me that's the difference in this game. Besides the fact that the defense is just super stingy. Passing defense, FAMU is second, allowing 170 yards per game through the air, while Pine Bluff is ninth, allowing 249. So Pine Bluff can be hit on the ground or in the air. They just are very susceptible to big plays on defense, and that's been an issue for them all year. FAMU's defense is very, very aggressive. They have 29 sacks. That's second in the league. Um, Surprisingly, I didn't cover this, but surprisingly, Grambling is third with 28 sacks. Their defense is very good. They're not, their defense is just not what you would expect for a team like that. But back to FAMU, um, they have allowed 16 sacks on the season. That's third in the league. Pine Bluff has allowed 18 sacks, so that's sixth. And they have 20 sacks as a defense. So both teams can get after the quarterback. Monroe Beard is a guy who has been wreaking havoc from time to time for Pine Bluff and on their front seven. So if they can get some pressure on McKay and slow down the backs, they may have a chance. But this defense gets hit with so many big plays that I just don't see that happening. To me, the key in this game, obviously, you say it over and over. Third downs, FAMU is ninth in the league at 33%. So for a team to be as good as they are, they don't really convert third downs well. Uh, Pine Bluff is 26%. That's gonna get them killed. If there's any stat besides the defensive stats that I think will hamper UAPB in this game, is that third down conversion rate as an offense. 43% conversion for the opponents by against UAPB. FAMU is third with 27%. So the FAMU defense should be more than enough to get them through this game. I think Isaiah Land, Savion Williams, Collier, and Marquis Bell, I think those guys are going to have some big games in, wreaking havoc on Skylar Perry, because right now he is their run game. So if you can control him and force them to throw, you're going to put yourself in good position to get sacks and probably some turnovers. Offensively, FAMU's offense can probably pick what they want to do because UAPB's defense is just not there. They give up a lot of big plays. They get hit hard by multiple teams. So I think that Bishop Barnett would probably have a big game running the ball for FAMU. And if those receivers can make some plays, then they'll be successful as well. So I like the Rattlers in this game. I think they continue to push toward the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to make it. But you have to keep winning, and they keep winning. They'll put themselves at least in a good position to be considered. So I like FAMU by a score of 35-16. I think UAPB get an early touchdown and then a late touchdown. And just not really be in this game. I think FAMU controls this game for the most part. And that brings us to our next game on the schedule, which is Alabama A&M and Texas Southern. I think this game has the potential to be a very, very explosive, high-scoring game. I think this can be a shootout. Both offenses are very capable of scoring the ball. Alabama A&M leads the league with 34.4 points per game. Texas Southern is fourth with 27.5 points per game. Great quarterback matchup, a young quarterback in Andrew Body, who did not have a good game against Jackson State, but Texas Southern ran the ball very well. Ladarius Owens ran the ball extremely well in that game, and almost 200 yards against Jackson State by himself. So that's a very big key in this game, the running game. Like I said, Aqeel Glass obviously is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's had his up and down issues, but still, the guy is still needs to be considered one of the top QBs in the league. Defensively, neither team really is working with a lot. Scoring defense, both teams are in the bottom half of the league. Alabama A&M allows 34.8 points per game. That's ninth. Texas Southern allows 40 points per game, which is last. So points will be scored. I think both teams have the offenses that are capable of scoring points. Again, these two offenses are top three in the league in total offense. Alabama A&M leads the league in total offense. Texas Southern is third. And for an offense that's so young and mistake prone to be able to average 419 yards per game and 6.0 yards per play is tremendous. Alabama A&M also averages 6 yards per play, and they average 444 per game as an offense, total offense. Defensively, again, problems. Alabama A&M ninth at 407 per game. They allow 6.4 yards per play. Texas Southern last. They allow 495 per game and 6.6 yards per play. Rushing, neither team, well, Texas Southern is actually third in rushing. I was about to say neither team runs the ball well, but Texas Southern is third in rushing, 175 yards per game. Andrew Body is a guy who can carry the ball himself. Owens, Jalen Howard, they have three or four backs that can carry the ball. This offense is very good. If you guys haven't really watched them play, you need to watch them. Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, they're young, but they are capable of moving the ball against teams, as you can see with the way they ran the ball against Jackson State. Alabama A&M is 10th in the league in rushing at 100.3 yards per game, but Gary Quarles is a big time runner, and he leads the league in rushing. So he's averaging 94 yards per game. The rest of the team plus him is 103 yards per game. So if he doesn't get it, nobody else does. So they're feast or famine with their run game. But he leads the league in rushing, so he's a top dog as far as running the ball. So he's somebody you definitely need to look out for. Andrew Body is ninth in the league at 56.8 yards per game. Ladarius Owens, 49.4 yards per game for Texas Southern. That's good for 12th in the league. So there's a lot of guys who can run the ball in this game. Passing offense, again, both teams pass the ball well. Alabama A&M obviously leads the league at 341 per game with 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Texas Southern is fourth in the league, 243 per game, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Defensively, not good either one. Alabama A&M is eighth in the league in passing defense, allowing 231 through the air, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Texas Southern is 11th, 268 per game, 14 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. A lot of great receivers in this game. Obviously, to go with the two great quarterbacks. Ibrahim leads the league in yards per game with 889.6. He also leads the league in receptions with 52. He's second in the league in total yardage receiving with 717. You have D. Anderson who leads the league with 11 touchdowns. You also have Odu Hilaire from Alabama A&M, 80 yards per game and 6 touchdowns, 44 receptions. Keelan Davis from Texas Southern is second in the league with 41 catches for 713 yards, 89 yards per game, and 2 touchdowns. Jaron Johnson is 13th with 51.8 yards per game, and he has 27 receptions, 3 touchdowns, 414 yards. So there's a lot of guys. That's not counting Brian Moore. Also, the balls will be filling the air. Lots of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, neither team is really getting it done. Texas Southern allows 17 sacks. Alabama A&M has allowed 24. 10 of those 24 was against Jackson State. So they really have done decent other than the Jackson State game with allowing quarterbacks to get Glass to get pressured because he's not the most mobile guy. Sacks by that defense, Texas Southern has 14, and Alabama A&M has 11. So neither team really gets out of the quarterback. I think both defenses are gonna really struggle in this game. I think they're gonna get a workout. I just think I really want to pick Texas Southern in this game, but their youth and turnovers really, are the the difference to me. Neither defense is going to stop either team, so I think it's going to come down to a late turnover, and Alabama A&M may get a late stop. I think it's going to be an exciting game. So if you can catch it, I think you should. It's on ESPN Plus. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff, so hopefully you can check that out. I like the Bulldogs in this game by a score of 45-34. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams cross 40 because I think neither defense is going to do much but get in the way. So I love both offenses and I love both quarterbacks. And I think Andrew Body is going to continue to grow week in and week out. I think he's going to bounce back from that Jackson State game. But the run game for Texas Southern, I think, can help him a lot if Owens can carry the ball like he did against Jackson State. Our next game, which is the first of our games of the week, because I picked two, mainly on the strength that neither. If Alcorn would have won, this would probably have been my unanimous game of the week. But since they lost, that took a little luster off this game. And since Southern is not doing that great, I did not want to make the Jackson State Southern game be the game of the week. So I hedged my bets and cheated and rode the fence and picked both games. So Prairie View at Alcorn is a 2 o'clock kickoff. No TV for this game. Obviously, when the schedule was put together, nobody knew that this game was a division clinching game, or possibly. Alcorn stumbled on the road against Bethune-Cookman. They stumbled on the road at Southern. That was the third and fourth game in a row on the road for them. That may have been a factor. They did have a 17-7 lead against Bethune-Cookman, but they just couldn't hold it. Alcorn comes in here this week averaging 27.2 points per game. That's sixth in the league. Prairie View is third at 30.5. Defensively, I think this is the difference between the two teams. Although they're close in points per game. Prairie View is third with 22.6. Alcorn is fourth with 25.7. Total offense. Again, Prairie View's offense has been very, very balanced. They have 1,400 yards rushing and 2,000 passing. They average 6.1 yards per play and 434 yards per game. Alcorn is fourth with 396. They also have a pretty decent balance, 2,016 yards passing, 1,551 rushing. Defensively, Prairie View is third in total defense with 289 per game, 4.3 yards per play. Alcorn is fifth. They average 354 as a defense, but they allow 5.4 yards per play. Rushing, I think both teams run the ball really well. Alcorn with Nico Duffy, Stafford Anderson, who had a big game against Bethune-Cookman in the loss, 3 touchdowns. Felix Harper obviously is a guy who can beat you with his legs, extend plays, and still get the ball downfield if he's scrambling. So he's a guy you definitely have to know where he's at all times. Alcorn, like I said, 172 yards per game, 4.1 yards per carry. Prairie View is second in the league at 182 yards per game rushing, 4.5 yards per carry. Defensively, Prairie View is second in rush defense, 114. They allow 3.5 yards per carry. Alcorn, 141 yards per game rushing defense and 4.1 yards per carry. Passing offense, Prairie View is third with an average of 252. They have 13 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Alcorn, 224 per game, 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. This has not been the season that a lot of people expected from Felix Harper. I think he's had his moments. He just has not had that season that a lot of people expected him to have. But he hasn't really hurt the team too much himself. They just have not been that explosive with their pass game. Although they have guys like Charles Pringle and C.J. Bowler who are big-time threats in the receiving game. Prairie View has some threats in the receiving game as well with Antonio Mullins and Jalen Howard. They really can hurt you. You know, both teams have guys who can beat you deep. They have guys that can really get themselves in good position to make some plays. Jalen Howard averages 24.3 yards per game and 4 touchdowns. Definitely a big threat. He's gonna hurt you. You know, he's gonna hurt you. Mullins is a guy that's more of your possession type of guy. He catches a lot of passes. He has 37 receptions on the season and 2 touchdowns, 433 yards, 54.1 yards per game. Like I said, C.J. Bowler, 74.8 yards per game for Alcorn. He has 33 catches for 598 and 5 touchdowns. LaCharles Pringle, 36 catches, 520 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has 57 yards per game. So those guys on both teams are gonna hurt you. Prairie View's run offense is led by Lindamian Brooks. He has 434 yards and 5 touchdowns, 5.9 yards per carry, and 62 yards per game. Jaden Stewart is the other part of that 1-2 punch. He has 435 yards, rushing 5.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns, 54.4 yards per game. So they have a 1-2 punch, and you throw in a guy like Juwan Pass who can run the ball when he needs to. He's been more of scrambling and look downfield to hit receivers just like Felix Harper. So both offenses are really similar in a lot of ways. Um, they both, don't mind running. They both don't mind throwing. They both have quarterbacks that can hurt you. To me, the difference in this game is defensively. Alcorn's defense has been up and down all year. They gave up 38 points to Southern, 35 to Bethune-Cookman. Even though they made a huge comeback against Pine Bluff, they still gave up a lot of points. They didn't give up a lot of points in North Carolina Central, but they got gashed up and down the field. Um, this, Alcorn, their offensive line has not been great either. They've allowed 25 sacks on the season. That's 10th in the league, and that's going up against a defense that has 21 sacks. So guys like Jason Dumas and Trayshawn Smith, they're going to cause a lot of problems. Drake Cheatham in the secondary is going to be a problem for Alcorn. Alcorn does not generate any pressure as a defense. They have 8 sacks on the season, and they have 3 interceptions. So defensively, they have not made any plays at all, but they still have found themselves in a position that if they can take care of business, they can, with some help, win the division. So their offense is what gets them over the hump. I think the issues that their defense has is going to cost them in this game. Prairie View is the kind of team that, they can hit you any kind of way. They're not flashy in either way. They kind of get lost in the shuffle as far as, the style points and things, but they can get it done. And I think they'll get this done and wrap up this division for the first time in 2020, first time since 2009 by a score of 27-20. I think it's going to be a game that comes down to a late score. I think both teams are going to fight hard. I think Alcorn's going to be tough on their reservation. Prairie View had a chance to beat them up there in 2019. They came up short, but I think they seal a deal here and win the division. And that takes us to our final game of the week, which is our other game of the week. And whatever. But Jackson State and Southern in the Boombox Classic. I don't call it that. I'm old school. It's just Jackson and Southern to me. So this game is 2 teams who are vastly different in all ways. Jackson State is working on their first division championship since 2013. Southern is most likely just playing out the string. Coach should be most likely will be gone by Bayou Classic weekend after the game, most likely. So they're in flux. Southern's been an inconsistent team. They haven't had a winning streak all year. They haven't had a losing streak either, but they have not been a consistent team. They have not been the type of team that you would expect from a team that brings back a lot of experienced guys. And like I said, this game is an ESPN3 broadcast, 6 o'clock kickoff. Jackson State, obviously, tremendous defense. Shador Sanders leads this offense with the passing game. They've been having a few slow starts the last few weeks, but they've kind of snowed everybody under and suffocated them in the second half. Jackson State's offense is second in the league in scoring at 30.7 points per game. Southern is fifth at 27.4. Defensively, this is the difference in this game. Southern's defense, although capable, they have just not been consistent. They've been banged up. That's no excuse, but They've been banged up. They've allowed a lot of points this year. 32.1. Jackson State leads the league with 13.9 points per game allowed. Um, total offense, both teams are pretty close. Southern's fifth in total offense with 372 per game. They average 5.6 yards per play. Jackson, 356 yards per game, and they average 5.8 yards per play. Um, they do it in different ways. Jackson State is a passing first offense. They don't even have 1,000 yards rushing. They are one of only two teams in the league that hasn't run for at least 1,000 yards, but they thrown for 2,400 yards, which is I think second in the league. Southern obviously does it with the running attack. Although the numbers are pretty similar, they're pretty balanced this year. Southern has run for 1,800 yards. They've passed for 1,500. So they're pretty balanced, but they're known to run more. They're known to run, and if their run game is working, then their offense is successful. Defensively, Jackson State has allowed 250 yards per game. Southern 399. Southern has been plagued by missed tackles and guys just not really always being in position. They're there to make the play, they just can't, and teams are able to extend drives, especially on third downs. Southern has been really porous on third down as a defense. Um, they are actually ninth in the they're actually 11th in the league in defensive third down conversions at 46%. Jackson State leads the league with 26% third down conversion rate. These two offenses are top two in third down conversions, basically a 0.2% difference. They're 41.7% for Jackson State, 41.5% for Southern. So both teams do a great job of converting third down. Southern does not get third down stops, and that really hurts them. Southern defense is an average defense when it comes to pressure. They have 16 sacks on the season. Jackson State obviously leads that with 41. Southern has allowed 15 sacks, which is second in the league. Jackson State has allowed 25, which is 11th in the league. So something has, if there's gonna be a game that Southern gets pressure, then this has to be it. If Southern cannot get any pressure on the quarterback, then they're gonna be in for a long day. Southern's deep offensive line is gonna be tested heavily. Southern's run game is definitely gonna have to help them out in this game. Southern leads the league in rushing with 203 yards per game. They average 4.9 yards per carry, which leads the league. Jackson State is 11th in the league in rushing with 97.3 yards per game and 3.2 yards per carry. Although Peyton Pickett had a big game last week, Santee Marshall and J.D. Martin have had big games on the ground in recent weeks. Defensively, Jackson allows 102 yards per game, 2.9 yards per carry. Southern averages 173 yards per game as a defense and 4.6 yards per carry. Southern has given up the third most touchdowns on the ground with 20. Southern has the most rushing touchdowns with 19, and Jackson State has allowed the least rushing touchdowns with 6. So again, something has to give. Passing game, that's probably the biggest difference in offense and defense. Jackson State is second with 268 yards per game passing, and Southern is 10th with 169 yards per game, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Jackson State 23 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Jackson State's defense is first, obviously, 148 yards per game passing, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Southern is 7th in the league with 225 yards per game allowed, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Shedeur Sanders obviously is the guy at quarterback. He's second in the league right now in passing, and he is averaging 268 per game, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Southern, like I said, Bubba McDaniel did not have a good game last week. He missed a lot of guys. He missed high and he missed low. He missed a couple wide open guys. He overthrew them. He had a couple guys open on third downs and he threw the ball too low. Not his sharpest game. He's gonna need to be on point in this game. But for Southern, the X factor for them is Ladarius Skelton. He has to get touches. And if Southern's down 2 backs, like they were against FAMU, down Gerard Sims, who played a little bit Saturday, and foot injury kind of slowed him down. He couldn't go. And Kobe Dillon missed the game with an injury. If they're down 2 backs, then Skelton needs to get touches. There's no reason why Skelton did not get any carries in that game when your running game needed him a lot. Kobe Dillon still is second in the league in rushing at 90 yards per game. Devon Ben is 10th, 54 yards per game. Santi Marshall is the first person on Jackson State in the top 15. He's 13th. He has 41 yards per game. Craig Nelson from Southern is 14th. He has 40 yards per game. So, like I say, Southern has the guys to carry the ball. Peyton Pickett, obviously, like I said, he had a big game last week. J.D. Martin as well. But Jackson State throws the ball extremely well. They have, some big threats. Keith Corbin has been a big factor. He had a big game last week. He had 76 yards per game, 46 catches, 685 yards, 4 touchdowns. The guy for Jackson State that I really like, and he's been a problem for everybody the last few weeks, is Malachi Weidman. 35 catches, 451 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he's averaging 50 yards per catch, 50 yards per game, and 15.4 yards per catch. Southern does not really have a guy that scares you because they don't have a go-to guy in the pass game, honestly. The closest thing that they have is Marquis Mclean. He has 25 catches, 352 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 39 yards per game. I would love to see the tight ends be more involved. I thought they would be more involved this year, but they just have not been involved much in this offense. Defensively, we know who the guys are for Jackson State: Aubrey Miller, Keontae Hampton, Antoine Owens. Obviously, James Houston is a guy who is second in the league in sacks. He has right now he has 10 sacks on the season. Well, 10 and a half sacks on the season. And like I said, you have Keontae Hampton, Aubrey Miller, Owens. The secondary is good. With Craig and Shiloh, Nugget, John Warren, Nugget. The secondary has been an issue, but Southern, I just don't see Southern being able to take advantage of it. I don't even know where Southern is right now. With everything going on with Coach Rollins, with his job basically being over, I guess you could say, and the defense has not been playing up to par. The offense has been hit or miss. Southern's been a very poor second half team this year. You don't know if they're even gonna, with 3 or 4 their losses, the offense just did not show up in the second half. Prairie, the offense did not show up in the second half. FAMU, the offense did not show up in the second half. McNeese, the offense did not show up in the second half. And that hurts you because 2 of those 3 games, your defense played well enough for you to win. Any scores that you have either in the McNeese or the FAMU game, any scores you get in the second half, you may have put yourself in position to win, but you didn't. So Southern, like I say, Southern is a first half team, poor second half team. This game, I'm gonna split the difference, and I think they'll play a half of a half and a half. They'll play a good half of a first half and a good half of a second half, and that won't be enough against a team like Jackson State. The streak ends Saturday. Southern has won 8 straight games against Jackson State. It was bound to come to an end. I think it's going to come to an end here because I just don't trust Southern right now. Jackson's on a mission. I think they clinched the East Division and set up a matchup with Prairie View. I think Jackson win this game by a score of 34-21. I just don't see Southern. Southern going to have to play consistently and play hard all game. Right now, I just don't see that. So that's how I feel about this game. So that's going to do it for this week's show. Remember, tomorrow, Swag Smoke, 6 o'clock, live show, 7 p.m. Eastern. Week 11 recap on Sunday, so you can check that out. I am out of here, man. If you look at the screen, I have my page that you can subscribe to if you haven't done it. Man, please subscribe. And there's a couple videos should be up there that you can check out if you haven't watched them yet. You can check those out as well. So that's gonna do it for me. I'm your tour guide, C. Wells. I'm signing out, and I will catch y'all on our live edition of Swag Smoke. We out of here.